The leaders of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have signaled a determined change in their foreign policy in recent times. These West African countries are moving away from a historically Western-oriented alignment and toward a more assertive and independent posture. This no-nonsense diplomatic approach to dealing with Western powers is a major break from previous diplomacy and will pave the way for alliance realignments and changes in the dynamics of world politics. In a recent turn of events, Sweden's ambassador to Bamako has been summoned and ordered to leave Mali within 72 hours because of a hostile statement by a Swedish minister. Before we continue, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the new tourist channel so you never miss out on any of our videos. Mali's move came a few days after Johan Forssell, Sweden's Minister for Commerce, International Development and Cooperation, announced that the country had chosen to gradually stop assisting Mali. You cannot support Russia's illegal war of aggression against Ukraine and at the same time receive several hundred million crowns each year in development aid, Forssell said, commenting on a post on X which said Mali was cutting ties with Ukraine. Forssell's spokesperson said the decision to stop and phase off development aid was made in December, but humanitarian relief will still be provided. The diplomatic dispute highlights the larger geopolitical change taking place in the Sahel as three military-led nations, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, move away from their long-standing Western allies and toward Russia. Bear in mind that Sweden declared in June that it would close its embassy in Bamako by the end of 2024 due to the worsening security situation in Mali, and that it would continue supporting the region from Dakar, Senegal. The Swedish embassy in Mali, which opened in 2010, has been a pillar of bilateral relations between the two countries. During this period, Sweden has invested in key areas such as rural development, education, and health. Similar to this, Norway decided to close its embassy in Bamako for security reasons by the end of 2023. Only Denmark, among the Scandinavian nations, has not yet made an announcement regarding its departure. Armed groups have been the source of unrest in Mali, rendering large areas of the nation ungovernable. Following a coup in 2020, the military of this West African nation has made it a top mission to retake the entire nation from separatists and extremist groups associated with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. As part of a UN peacekeeping operation, Sweden sent soldiers to the area in 2022. However, Stockholm announced that it would withdraw its 220 soldiers from the Mali mission. Other European nations, including France, completed their withdrawals of troops from Mali in 2022. Since then, Mali has moved closer to Russia, and the Wagner mercenary group has been operating in the country since late 2021, replacing French troops and international peacekeepers. Bear in mind that Mali had complained to the UN Security Council that France was sponsoring terrorists in Mali. Abdoulaye Diop claimed in a letter to the head of the UN Security Council that more than 50 airspace violations occurred in Mali in 2017, most of which were committed by French forces employing drones, armed helicopters, and fighter jets. In his letter, he claimed that France had violated Malian airspace, flagrantly to gather intelligence on terrorist organizations operating in the Sahel and drop weapons and ammunition to them. The members of the Security Council called on the transitional government of Mali to swiftly investigate with the support of MINUSMA. Mali did not present any proof that France had given weapons to jihadist organizations. In its former colony, France had spent 10 years and billions of euros eradicating Islamist extremists, some of whom had ties to the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. The French embassy responded in a tweet that France had never supported, directly or indirectly, these terrorist groups, and these groups remained its designated enemies across the planet. The Security Council members reiterated that one of the biggest risks to global peace and security was terrorism in all of its forms and manifestations. They emphasized the necessity of prosecuting the perpetrators, organizers, financiers, and sponsors of these abhorrent acts of terrorism. In line with their responsibilities under international law and pertinent Security Council decisions, they emphasized that those guilty should be held accountable and urged all states to effectively cooperate with the competent authorities in this respect. France has played a significant role in Mali, both historically as a former colonial power and in recent years through military interventions. In 2013, France launched Operation Serval to counter the Islamist insurgency and support the Malian government. This operation was later succeeded by Operation Barkhane, which aimed to stabilize the Sahel region. International efforts, including the United Nations Multidimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in Mali, MINUSMA, have also been deployed to support peace and stability in the country. Mali said that France attempted to destabilize the West African nation in 2017 by violating its airspace and arming Islamist extremists. One of the accusations that ultimately brought an end to their once close ties was this one. This is something similar happening with Sweden. Note that Bamako's decision to cut ties with Kiev prompted Sweden's minister, Johan Forsell, to say that the government had decided to phase out bilateral aid to Mali due to its ties to Moscow. As Mali said it was cutting ties with Ukraine, Niger declared last week that it will immediately end diplomatic ties with Ukraine due to Kiev's purported backing of terrorist groups in Mali. The Russian-affiliated Wagner Group, which is assisting the Malian army, reported Russian losses and the death of a commander following an intense battle in Tinzé-Ahuaten, the north of the country. Meanwhile, the Malian army acknowledged that it had suffered a significant death toll from the conflict. Mali said it considered support for Ukraine as support for international terrorism and an aggression that is part of the broader pattern of certain actors who actively support and instrumentalize terrorist groups in the region. Andriy Yusov, a spokesman for Ukrainian military intelligence, said last week that the rebels had been given the necessary information to conduct the attacks. A top Malian official, Colonel Abdoulaye Mega, said his government was shocked to hear the claim and accused Ukraine of violating Mali's sovereignty. Niger has moved closer to Mali and potentially other recently coup-affected West African nations by cutting off ties with Ukraine. Additionally, a move away from Western alliances and toward Russia is suggested by Niger's recent admittance of Russian military trainers to strengthen its air defenses. Niger may become even more isolated from Western countries and more dependent on Russia for military and security assistance if its relations with Ukraine are severed. The diplomatic relations between Sweden and Mali will be strained with the departure of the Swedish ambassador from Mali. The expulsion will deter Sweden from interacting with Mali and other nations in the area that are more closely aligned with Russia in the future. However, the opening of an embassy in Senegal demonstrates Sweden's ongoing commitment to involvement in the region of West Africa. Bear in mind that these Sahelian countries are working hand in glove with each other. In July, the military leaders of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger signed a new defense cooperation pact, hailing it as a step towards greater integration. Colonel Assimi Goïta, Mali's military leader, said the strengthened relationship means an attack on one of us will be an attack on all the other members. We are seeing what they meant by this as days pass. The three leaders signed the Confederation Treaty during a summit in Niamey, the capital of Niger, to bolster the alliance of Sahel states. This mutual defense agreement was launched last year. The signing marked the culmination of the first combined meeting between the presidents of the neighboring West African countries, General Abdourahmane Chiani of Niger, Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, and Colonel Assimi Goïta of Mali, since their respective overthrows. It also came just months after the three countries withdrew from ECOWAS in January. Speaking at the summit, Chiani called the 50-year-old ECOWAS a threat to their states. Note that Senegalese President Bassirou Faye has been fighting for a peaceful reconciliation between the three countries in ECOWAS. Do you think this will happen? Let us know in the comments. However, many believe that Faye will be joining the alliance of Sahel states in no time. On President Faye's visit to Mali in May, he said he understood the Malian position, which, although rigid, was not totally inflexible. He said all parties must work together to find positive means of strengthening integration through bilateral cooperation, but also by trying to correct the blunders that they have noted in multilateral cooperation. This is proof that Senegal will soon be integrated into the alliance. In little or no time, Bassirou may be the one telling Sweden to withdraw from his country. This will be devastating because Sweden must have finished establishing its embassy. The noteworthy move by Mali to command the Swedish ambassador to depart the nation within 72 hours highlights the growing aggressiveness of West African states in their interactions with Western powers. With all that has been said, do you believe these Sahelian countries are walking towards glory? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel. Turn on notifications too so you get notified whenever we upload videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.